Imagine a marriage so strained, so fractured, and so quietly burning beneath the surface that the most shocking moments of betrayal didn't happen in distant hotels, secret hideaways, or discreet countryside cottages, but inside the royal home itself. Imagine a lover reportedly walking through the halls of Sunninghill Park, a man who wasn't the prince of the household, moving with such ease that he allegedly slipped into Prince Andrew's private study at night and waited for the Duchess of York to join him. Imagine the prince asleep upstairs while rumors claim his wife and her lover engaged in intimate acts in the one room Andrew considered sacred, his personal space, his office, his sanctuary. A moment of betrayal that, if true, didn't just break the boundaries of marriage, it shattered the sanctity of the royal household itself. Before we dive in, there's something I need to share with you. Over the past few days, thousands have watched these stories unfold, but most haven't subscribed. If you're one of them, I invite you now to join us. Subscribe to Crownverse so you never miss the next chapter in this unfolding royal history. To understand the depth of this story, we must go back to the very beginning, to the marriage between Sarah Ferguson and Prince Andrew, a union that began with excitement, promise, and royal celebration, but quickly fell into the crossfire of distance, duty, loneliness, temptation, and later scandals so intense it would define both of their lives for decades. Sarah and Andrew married in 1986. For a brief moment, the world believed it was witnessing a genuine royal love story, a spark of joy in a monarchy still adjusting to the strains in Charles and Diana's marriage. But beneath the smiles and balcony waves, beneath the sparkling tiaras and the grandeur of Westminster Abbey, the cracks began forming almost immediately. Andrew was in the Royal Navy. His naval duties frequently took him away for long stretches, months at sea, sometimes more. And Sarah, who had married into a world of discipline, rules, formality, and public scrutiny, suddenly found herself alone in a palace, raising children, attending events, and navigating royal expectations without her husband by her side. Loneliness quickly became her most constant companion. Over time, the distance between them didn't simply widen, it became insurmountable. Reports claim that both Andrew and Sarah sought comfort elsewhere. Some accounts, unverified but widely repeated, allege that Andrew slept with more than a dozen women in the first year of their marriage. These allegations have never been confirmed, but they were circulated enough to fuel the narrative that the marriage was far from faithful on either side. But while Andrew's alleged affairs were whispered about, Sarah's actions would soon become the center of front-page scandal. The world remembers the infamous toe-sucking photographs, the images of American businessman John Bryan kissing and sucking Sarah's toes while she sunbathed by a pool. The pictures were explosive, deeply humiliating for the monarchy, and publicly devastating for Andrew. They marked the end of the marriage in the eyes of the press, the public, and the palace. But what many people don't know, or have forgotten, is that the toe-sucking scandal was only the tip of the iceberg. Long before those photographs surfaced, the marriage had reportedly collapsed behind the scenes, and according to some accounts, Sarah's involvement with Bryan may have been far more entwined with the royal home than anyone realized. Unverified claims suggest that John Bryan didn't just meet Sarah in hotels or during private holidays abroad. It is said, through memoir descriptions and alleged palace insider accounts, that Bryan at times stayed at Sunninghill Park, the home Sarah shared with Andrew. It is alleged that Andrew had no idea his wife's lover was in the house, and that Sarah orchestrated a careful pattern of secrecy that allowed her double life to continue without immediate detection. And then comes the most shocking claim, the allegation that Sarah and Bryan engaged in intimate acts in Andrew's private study after the prince had gone to bed. This is not a verified fact. It is a claim reported in biographies and recollections, but the image it paints is powerful, scandalous, and deeply symbolic. To understand why this detail carries such weight, you must understand what Andrew's study represented. It wasn't just a room. It was a place where he handled official matters, where he kept personal files, where he worked, where he thought, where he isolated himself from the pressures of royal life. It was a sanctuary of privacy, a space associated with his identity as both a royal and a man. And if these alleged events took place there, it would mean the betrayal seeped into the very heart of Andrew's personal world. The claims don't stop at the study. According to accounts attributed to memoirs and interviews, Brian's presence in the home sparked shockwaves among those who later learned of it. One royal figure allegedly called the behavior vulgar, vulgar, vulgar. This quote is attributed, but unverified. Add to that a claim from a servant, again unverified, that when Sarah was confronted by the Queen about her behavior, the Duchess acted as if she were the injured party, rather than the one who had brought scandal into the royal household. According to this account, Sarah seemed more angry at the photographers than remorseful about the situation itself. Whether that confrontation happened exactly as described is impossible to confirm. Palace discipline is tight. Staff confidentiality is expected. But these stories endure because they paint a portrait of a marriage spinning out of control, and of a woman who felt trapped, misunderstood, and desperate for emotional connection. Meanwhile, Andrew's alleged behavior contributed to the disintegration as well. If the claim about his early affairs holds any truth, it would suggest that both partners entered the marriage with romantic energy, but lacked the foundation needed to sustain it against distance and public pressure. The contrast in their behavior became even more dramatic as the years went on. Reports indicate that Sarah fell head over heels for Brian. But when Andrew called her to say they were separating, she was reportedly hysterical. Despite the turmoil, despite the affairs, despite the humiliation, she did not want the marriage to end at that moment. That emotional contradiction tells a deeper story. Perhaps she never stopped wanting Andrew's affection, approval, or presence. Perhaps she sought elsewhere what she felt she was missing from her royal life. But the final blow came not from Andrew's actions nor from Sarah's emotions, but from the press. When the toe-sucking photographs hit the front pages in 1992, everything changed. The humiliation was global. The palace could no longer protect the marriage. The Queen, known for her calm dignity and reluctance to interfere in her children's personal lives, was said to be deeply upset by the images. And 3 days after a family meeting, Andrew and Sarah announced their separation. Yet, in one of the most unusual twists in modern royal history, the divorce did not sever their connection. Instead, it seemed to bring them closer. They continued to live together. They continued to share holidays, events, and family moments. They became companions, co-parents, confidants, a relationship that puzzled outsiders, but made perfect emotional sense to them. Despite everything, they understood one another. Neither judged the other. Neither rejected the other. They were bound by history, by children, by loyalty, and perhaps by the strange comfort of knowing that no one else could fully understand what they had been through. But today, that arrangement sits under new pressure. With Andrew stripped of his titles and his future uncertain, reports suggest he may be heading to live more privately in Norfolk. If that is true, and this remains unconfirmed, then Sarah's living situation also becomes uncertain. For decades, Royal Lodge has been their shared sanctuary. But with Andrew's position diminished, the question arises, where will Sarah go? Will she remain? Will she move? Will she still be protected by the privileges once tied to Andrew's royal status? Their story, once a tale of royal romance, is now one of survival, loyalty, scandal, and endurance. It is a story that defies expectations. A couple who destroyed each other in marriage, yet found comfort in each other in divorce. A couple marked by affairs on both sides, yet bound together long after the world assumed they had separated forever. But the most haunting aspect of their story remains the allegations of betrayal in the heart of their home. The idea of intimate acts in Andrew's study is not simply a salacious detail. It is a symbol of how deeply the marriage had unraveled, a symbol of how far both had drifted from the vows they once made. And it raises the question, if a marriage reaches a point where such acts could allegedly occur under the same roof, how long had it been broken before the world noticed? How many years had they suffered silently? How much pain was hidden beneath the tiaras, the uniforms, the balcony waves, and the headlines? The story of Andrew and Sarah is not simply a royal scandal. It is a portrait of two human beings who wanted love, who made mistakes, who hurt each other, and who found solace in the ashes of their failures. It is a reminder that behind the titles and the palaces, behind the ceremonies and the scrutiny, there are people struggling to find their place in the world, even when the world is watching. The monarchy may never confirm these allegations. The palace will never comment on memoirs, rumors, or unverified claims. But the echoes of these stories continue to shape the public's understanding of Andrew and Sarah not as symbols, but as flawed, complicated, deeply human figures. And perhaps that is why their story still captivates us today.